In a distant part of the galaxy, far beyond the reach of Earth's telescopes, an alien race called the Exitherians ruled with unmatched power. For thousands of years, they had built an empire that stretched across countless stars and planets. Their ships were faster, their weapons stronger, and their technology so advanced that other species could only dream of matching it. To many in the galaxy, the Exitherians weren't just rulers, they were gods. Under the command of Emperor Kalon, a cold and calculating leader, they enforced strict control over every planet under their dominion. Those who resisted were crushed without mercy. On Earth, things were different. Humanity was still healing from centuries of war and division. But recently, people had begun looking to the stars with hope. Space exploration became a priority, and humanity started sending ships deeper into the unknown. One such ship was the Eclipse Asterisk, a state-of-the-art human warship designed for both exploration and defense. Leading the crew was Captain Ryan Cole, a quiet but determined man in his mid-30s. Ryan wasn't one for grand speeches or bold declarations. Instead, he led by example, earning the respect of his crew through hard work and steady decision-making. Ryan's second-in-command was Lieutenant Laura Drake, a fiery and outspoken woman who often balanced out Ryan's calm demeanor. While Ryan preferred careful planning, Laura believed in taking action quickly. Despite their differences, they worked well together, each bringing something valuable to the table. The rest of the crew admired them both, knowing they were in good hands. The Eclipse Asterisk had been traveling through uncharted space for weeks when something unusual happened. The ship's sensors picked up strange energy readings coming from a nearby system. Curious, Ryan ordered the ship to investigate. What they found shocked everyone. A massive structure floating in the void, clearly artificial. It looked like a fortress, bristling with weapons and surrounded by smaller ships. This was no ordinary discovery. It was the first sign of intelligent alien life humanity had ever encountered. Ryan knew this was a historic moment. He gathered his senior officers to discuss what to do next. Dr. Emily Shaw, the ship's xenobiologist, argued for making contact. "This is why we're out here," she said passionately, "to meet other species and learn from them." Laura, however, was more cautious. "We don't know anything about them," she warned. "They could be dangerous." After much debate, Ryan decided to send a small team to approach the structure under a flag of peace. Emily volunteered to lead the mission, eager to make first contact. Accompanying her were two security officers armed with non-lethal weapons, just in case. As the shuttle left the Eclipse Asterisk, the entire crew watched anxiously from the bridge. When the team arrived at the structure, they were greeted by towering aliens with sleek metallic armor. These were the Exitherians, though the humans didn't yet know their name. The aliens examined the humans with obvious disdain, as if they were insects unworthy of attention. When Emily tried to communicate using gestures and simple sounds, one of the Exitherians raised a weapon and fired without warning. The blast hit one of the security officers, injuring him severely. Horrified, Emily ordered an immediate retreat. Back on the Eclipse Asterisk, the mood was grim. Ryan clenched his fists as he listened to Emily's report. "They didn't even give us a chance," she said, her voice trembling with anger and fear. Laura was furious. "We can't let them get away with this," she insisted. "We need to strike back." But Ryan hesitated. Humanity wasn't ready for a war against such a powerful enemy. Still, he couldn't ignore what had happened. For now, he chose to regroup and gather more information, vowing to protect his crew and prove that humanity deserved a place among the stars. Little did he know, this encounter would set off a chain of events that would change the galaxy forever. After the attack at the alien structure, Captain Ryan Cole called an emergency meeting on the Eclipse Asterisk. The crew was shaken, and tensions ran high. Emily Shaw, still upset over the loss of one of her team members, urged Ryan to take action. "We can't just let them get away with this," she said, her voice firm despite the sadness in her eyes. Laura Drake agreed, pacing back and forth as she spoke. They attacked us without provocation. If we don't respond, they'll think we're weak. Ryan listened carefully, his expression unreadable. He knew Laura had a point. Showing weakness could invite further aggression. But he also understood that humanity wasn't ready for a war against such an advanced enemy. After a long pause, he made his decision. We're not going to retaliate blindly, he said, but we're not going to sit here either. We need to learn more about them before we make our next move. With that, Ryan ordered the Eclipse to retreat to a safe distance. From there, the crew began scanning the alien structure, gathering as much data as they could. Chief Engineer Alex Monroe worked tirelessly alongside Dr. Shaw to analyze the information. Days turned into nights as they pored over readings, searching for any clue that might give humanity an edge. What they discovered was both fascinating and alarming. The aliens, who called themselves the Exotherians, relied heavily on a rare resource called stellarium to power their technology. This material seemed to be the backbone of their entire empire. Without it, their ships, weapons, and even their massive structures would fail. Emily shared the findings with Ryan and Laura, her excitement growing as she explained. If we can disrupt their supply of stellarium, we might have a chance to weaken them. Laura's eyes lit up at the idea. That's it, she said. We hit them where it hurts, their resources. But Ryan remained cautious. Attacking a Scytherian facility would be incredibly risky, especially since they didn't know how well it was defended. Still, he couldn't deny the potential of Emily's discovery. For the first time since the attack, he felt a glimmer of hope. Meanwhile, aboard the Exotherian flagship Dominion Commander Vera reviewed reports of the recent encounter. She was a tall, imposing figure with sharp features and an even sharper mind. Unlike Emperor Kalon, who dismissed the humans as insignificant, Vera saw them as a potential threat. They're curious, she told her subordinates. And curiosity leads to action. We must prepare for the possibility that they will return. Vera began making plans to strengthen defenses around key stellarium facilities. She also ordered increased patrols in nearby systems, determined to intercept the human ship if it dared to approach again. Though her warnings fell on deaf ears with Kalon, she trusted her instincts. Something about the humans' behavior during the skirmish had struck her as unusual. They hadn't panicked or fled immediately after the attack. They had regrouped and retreated strategically. It was a sign of intelligence and discipline, qualities she respected and feared. Back on the Eclipse, Ryan finalized his plan. He decided to send a small strike team to infiltrate one of the stellarium mining facilities. Laura volunteered immediately, insisting she would lead the mission. Ryan hesitated but eventually agreed, knowing her skills and determination would be invaluable. Together, they selected a team that included Alex and a few other trusted crew members. As preparations began, Ryan addressed the entire crew. Standing on the bridge, he spoke calmly but firmly. "This won't be easy," he admitted, "but we have no choice. If we want to survive, we need to fight. Not recklessly, but smartly. Every one of you has trained for moments like this. I believe in you, and I trust you to do what's right." The words boosted morale, giving the crew a renewed sense of purpose. For the first time since the attack, they felt like they had a real chance against the Exotherians. As the Eclipse set course for the nearest stellarium facility, Ryan couldn't shake the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He knew the mission ahead would test them all, but failure was not an option. Humanity's future depended on it. The Eclipse approached the stellarium mining facility under cover of darkness. The crew had spent hours planning every detail of the mission, knowing that one mistake could mean disaster. Captain Ryan Cole stood on the bridge, staring at the glowing structure in the distance. It was massive, with towering spires and blinking lights that signaled its importance to the Scytherian Empire. Surrounding it were smaller ships, patrolling the area like guard dogs protecting their territory. Ryan's heart raced as he gave the final orders. "Remember," he said, his voice steady but firm, "we're not here to start a war. We're here to send a message, to them and to ourselves, that we won't back down." Lieutenant Laura Drake nodded, her face set with determination. She led the strike team, which included Chief Engineer Alex Monroe, Dr. Emily Shaw, and 2 security officers trained for high-risk operations. Each member carried specialized equipment designed to disable the facility without causing unnecessary destruction. As the shuttle detached from the Eclipse Asterisk, the rest of the crew held their breath. The small craft moved silently through space, using cloaking technology to avoid detection. When they reached the facility, Laura guided the team to a weak point in its defenses, a maintenance hatch located on the underside of the structure. The plan was simple: infiltrate, plant explosives at key locations, and escape before the charges detonated. Inside the facility, the air was thick with tension. The team moved quickly but carefully, sticking to the shadows to avoid patrols of Cytherian workers and guards. Alex worked his magic on locked doors and security systems, bypassing them with ease thanks to his engineering expertise. Emily kept an eye on the facility's layout, guiding the team through narrow corridors and dimly lit chambers. Every step felt like walking on thin ice, knowing that discovery would mean certain death. Despite their caution, trouble found them sooner than expected. As they planted the first explosive near a power conduit, alarms blared throughout the facility. A group of Cytherian guards appeared, their weapons drawn. Laura reacted instantly, firing a stun blast that took down the first guard. The others scrambled for cover, returning fire with deadly accuracy. The humans fought back fiercely, but the odds were against them. Just when it seemed like they were cornered, Alex stepped forward. "Go," he shouted, pulling out a device he'd been working on during the mission. "I'll hold them off." Ryan's voice crackled over the comms, urging Alex to retreat, but the engineer refused to budge. With tears in his eyes, he activated the device, creating a bright flash of light that temporarily blinded the guards. "Get out of here," Alex yelled, his voice breaking. Laura hesitated, unwilling to leave him behind, but Emily grabbed her arm. "We have to go," she pleaded. Reluctantly, Laura followed the rest of the team as they sprinted toward the exit. Behind them, Alex stayed behind, buying them precious time. His sacrifice weighed heavily on everyone, but there was no turning back now. When the team finally reached the shuttle, they wasted no time taking off. Moments later, the explosives detonated, sending shockwaves through the facility. Massive sections collapsed, and the flow of stellarium ground to a halt. On board the shuttle, the mood was somber. No one celebrated the success of the mission, not with Alex gone. Back on the Eclipse Asterisk, Ryan greeted the survivors with a mixture of pride and sorrow. He knew Alex's bravery had saved them all, but the cost was almost too much to bear. As the ship moved away from the damaged facility, Ryan vowed to honor Alex's memory by continuing the fight. Humanity had struck its first real blow against the Cytherians, but the war was far from over. The destruction of the stellarium mining facility sent shockwaves through the Cytherian Empire. For centuries, they had believed themselves untouchable, their dominance over the galaxy unquestioned. But now, cracks began to form in their perfect facade. Without the steady flow of stellarium, key systems across their empire started to falter. Ships slowed down, weapons lost power, and even the grand structures that symbolized their might showed signs of decay. The humans had struck a blow far more damaging than anyone could have imagined. Emperor Kalen was furious. He stormed through the halls of his palace, shouting orders at his advisors and blaming everyone but himself for the disaster. How could this happen? He roared, slamming his fist on a table. His anger only grew when Commander Vera stepped forward with news. She had been monitoring human activity since the attack and uncovered something troubling. The humans weren't just primitive wanderers. They were clever, resourceful, and capable of thinking strategically. They're planning something bigger, Vera warned, her voice calm but firm. If we don't act now, they'll keep coming after us. Kaylin dismissed her concerns at first, still convinced that humanity posed no real threat. But deep down, doubt began to creep in. Perhaps Vera was right. Perhaps these humans were more dangerous than he'd assumed. Reluctantly, he gave her permission to assemble a fleet and hunt down the Eclipse *. Bring me their leader alive, he ordered coldly. I want to see the face of the one who dares challenge me. Meanwhile, aboard the Eclipse *, Captain Ryan Cole struggled to process what had happened. The mission had succeeded, yes, but at a terrible cost. Alex's sacrifice weighed heavily on him, as did the knowledge that the fight was far from over. Laura tried to reassure him, reminding him that Alex had given his life to protect the crew and weaken the Exitherians. He knew what he was doing, she said softly, and he did it for all of us. Ryan nodded, though the guilt lingered. He gathered the crew for a meeting, laying out their next steps. They couldn't afford to rest, not with the Exitherians likely preparing for retaliation. We've shown them we can hit back, Ryan said, addressing the room. But they won't stop until they destroy us or we stop them. We need to stay ahead. Dr. Emily Shaw suggested targeting another vulnerable point in the Exitherian supply chain, a research station rumored to house critical data about stellarium production. If they could steal this information, humanity might find new ways to cripple the Empire further. Ryan agreed, though the risks were enormous. The station would be heavily guarded, and getting in and out undetected seemed almost impossible. As the Eclipse * set course for the research station, tensions ran high. Everyone knew the stakes. Failure meant not just the loss of their ship, but potentially the end of humanity's resistance against the Exitherians. Still, there was a quiet determination among the crew. They had come too far to give up now. When they arrived, the team faced unexpected challenges. The station was surrounded by advanced drones programmed to detect intruders. Chief Engineer Alex Monroe, whose death still haunted the crew, had taught them tricks for bypassing such defenses, and they put those lessons to use. Slowly and carefully, they infiltrated the station, avoiding patrols and disabling security systems. Inside, they found exactly what they were looking for: detailed records on stellarium extraction and refinement processes. Emily quickly downloaded the data onto a portable drive while Laura kept watch. Just as they were about to leave, alarms blared. Vera's forces had arrived sooner than expected. A fierce firefight erupted, forcing the humans to fight their way out. Laura covered the retreat, her weapon blazing as she held off wave after wave of Exitherian soldiers. Ryan shouted for everyone to fall back, his voice filled with urgency. One by one, the team made it to the shuttle, narrowly escaping as explosions rocked the station behind them. Back on the Eclipse *, Ryan reviewed the stolen data. It was a treasure trove of information that could turn the tide of the conflict. But the victory felt hollow. The Exitherians were closing in, and the next battle would be harder than ever. Ryan looked out at the stars, knowing the war was reaching its breaking point. Humanity had proven it could stand against the gods of the galaxy, but how much longer could they hold on? The stolen data from the Exitherian research station proved to be a game-changer. Dr. Emily Shaw worked tirelessly with her team to analyze it, uncovering critical weaknesses in the Exitherians' reliance on stellarium. The humans learned that the resource wasn't just fuel. It was also tied directly to the life support systems of many Exitherian ships and stations. If they could disrupt stellarium production further, they might force the Empire into chaos. Captain Ryan Cole called a meeting with his senior officers to discuss their next move. The mood was tense but focused. Everyone knew the stakes. Vera's fleet was hunting them, and time was running out. "We've got one shot left," Ryan said, pointing to a map displayed on the screen. It showed the location of the largest stellarium refinery in the galaxy, a sprawling complex protected by an armada of warships. Destroying it would cripple the Cytherian supply chain permanently, but getting close enough to do so seemed impossible. Lieutenant Laura Drake leaned forward, her eyes sharp. "Then we don't go straight at them," she said. "We use what we've learned. They're stretched thin because of us. Let's hit smaller targets first, supply lines, communication hubs, and draw their forces away from the refinery." Ryan nodded. It was risky, but it made sense. Over the next few days, the Eclipse launched a series of lightning-fast raids on less guarded Cytherian installations. Each strike was precise and devastating, forcing Vera to divert ships to defend these new threats. With every attack, the pressure on the refinery grew lighter, giving the humans a slim chance to make their final move. As the Eclipse approached the refinery, the crew prepared for what might be their last stand. Ryan addressed them all, speaking with quiet determination. "Every one of you has done more than anyone could ask," he said. "Today, we finish what we started. No matter what happens, remember this: humanity doesn't give up. Not ever." The plan was simple but dangerous. Using cloaking technology, the Eclipse slipped past the remaining defenses and positioned itself near the refinery. A small team, led by Laura, would plant explosives deep inside the facility while Ryan stayed behind to coordinate their escape. The mission required perfect timing. If anything went wrong, the entire ship, and everyone on it, would be lost. Inside the refinery, the team faced relentless challenges. Automated turrets fired relentlessly, forcing them to take cover behind crumbling walls. Laura moved quickly, shouting orders as they planted charges in key locations. Just as they finished setting the last explosive, alarms blared throughout the facility. Vera had arrived, her flagship descending like a vengeful shadow. "Move," Laura yelled, leading the team back toward the extraction point. Explosions rocked the refinery as the charges detonated, sending debris flying everywhere. The humans barely made it to the shuttle before the structure collapsed in a fiery inferno. As they sped away, Vera's voice crackled over the comms. "You think this changes anything?" she demanded. "You're still insects compared to us." Back aboard the Eclipse, Ryan watched the refinery burn. The sight filled him with both relief and dread. They had dealt a massive blow to the Cytherians, but Vera's words lingered in his mind. Was it enough, or had they only delayed the inevitable? Before anyone could answer, warning lights flashed across the bridge. Vera's fleet had surrounded them, cutting off any chance of retreat. The battle that followed was brutal. The Eclipse fought valiantly, its weapons blazing against overwhelming odds. But just when it seemed all hope was lost, reinforcements appeared. Human ships arriving from Earth, answering Ryan's earlier calls for aid. Together, the human fleet turned the tide, driving Vera's forces back. For the first time, the Cytherians faltered, their confidence shaken. Ryan looked around the bridge, his heart swelling with pride. Humanity had proven it could stand toe-to-toe with the gods of the galaxy. But as he gazed at the stars, he knew the fight was far from over. The arrival of the human reinforcements changed everything. Ships from Earth, hastily assembled after Ryan's earlier messages, joined the battle with a ferocity that surprised even the Cytherians. The combined human fleet fought as one, their smaller, agile vessels weaving through the larger and slower Cytherian warships. Lasers flashed across the void. Explosions lit up the darkness, and debris floated like silent witnesses to the chaos. On board the Eclipse, Captain Ryan Cole coordinated the attack, his voice steady despite the turmoil around him. "Stay sharp," he said into the comms. "We've got them on the ropes." Lieutenant Laura Drake stood beside him, her eyes glued to the screens showing the battlefield. She was exhausted but refused to show it, knowing the crew looked to her for strength. Together, they directed the human ships, targeting weak points in the enemy formation and exploiting every advantage they had. Commander Vera watched from her flagship, her expression unreadable. For the first time, doubt flickered in her mind. The humans were not just fighting. They were winning. Their tactics were unpredictable, their resolve unshakable. Vera clenched her fists, frustrated by how much trouble these insects had caused. She ordered her ships to regroup, hoping to counterattack, but the humans pressed forward relentlessly, leaving no room for retreat. As the battle raged, Laura noticed something peculiar about Vera's flagship. Its shields were weaker than those of the other ships, likely due to damage sustained during earlier engagements. "Ryan," she said urgently, pointing to the screen. "If we can take out her ship, the rest will fall apart." Ryan nodded, understanding the opportunity. He called for volunteers to join him on a risky mission, using the Eclipse itself as bait to lure Vera into a trap. Laura immediately stepped forward, refusing to let him go alone. "You'll need someone to watch your back," she said firmly. Ryan hesitated but finally agreed, trusting her judgment. The plan was simple yet dangerous. The Eclipse would fake a retreat, drawing Vera's flagship away from the main fleet. Once isolated, the human reinforcements would ambush her, focusing all firepower on her weakened vessel. As the Eclipse pulled back, Vera took the bait, pursuing them with grim determination. Her pride wouldn't allow her to ignore such an apparent act of cowardice. When the moment came, the human fleet struck with devastating precision. Lasers pounded Vera's flagship, tearing through its already compromised shields. Inside, alarms blared as systems failed and fires spread. Vera refused to surrender, her hands gripping the controls as she tried to fight back. But it was too late. With a final, massive explosion, her ship broke apart, scattering debris across space. The loss of Vera sent shockwaves through the Exatherian ranks. Without her leadership, their formation crumbled. One by one, their ships either fled or surrendered, unable to continue the fight. The human fleet cheered as the tide turned decisively in their favor. On the Eclipse, the crew erupted in celebration, hugging each other and shouting with joy. But Ryan remained quiet, staring at the wreckage of Vera's ship. He felt no triumph, only relief that it was over. Back on Earth, news of the victory spread quickly. Humanity celebrated its improbable triumph against the once unstoppable Xatherians. Leaders hailed Ryan and his crew as heroes, symbols of hope and resilience. But Ryan knew better than anyone that the cost had been high. Too many lives had been lost, too many sacrifices made. In the days that followed, Emperor Kalon faced rebellion within his own empire. Planets under Xatherian rule rose up, emboldened by the human success. His grip on power weakened, and soon he found himself isolated, his reign crumbling around him. In a final act of desperation, he fled aboard a small escape pod, disappearing into the vastness of space. As the dust settled, Ryan gathered his crew for a quiet moment of reflection. "We did what we had to do," he said softly. "But this isn't the end. There's still work to be done, to rebuild, to heal, and to ensure that humanity never has to face something like this again." Looking out at the stars, Ryan felt a mix of emotions: pride, sorrow, and hope. Humanity had proven it could stand among the stars. But now it had to learn how to stay there. In the aftermath of the battle, the galaxy began to change. The Exatherian Empire, once a mighty force that ruled countless stars, was now in ruins. Planets that had suffered under their rule for centuries rose up, throwing off the chains of oppression. Some sought independence, while others looked to humanity as an example of courage and unity. It was clear, the age of the Exatherians was over. On Earth, celebrations erupted across cities and towns. People gathered in streets and squares, waving flags and lighting fireworks. For so long, humanity had dreamed of reaching the stars, not just to explore, but to prove it could stand alongside other species. Now, they had done more than that. They had faced gods and won. Captain Ryan Cole became a symbol of this victory, his name spoken with reverence. Yet, despite the praise, Ryan remained humble. He knew the real heroes were the men and women who had fought beside him, many of whom would never return home. The crew of the Eclipse worked tirelessly in the days following the battle. They helped rebuild damaged ships, tended to the wounded, and coordinated efforts to stabilize newly liberated planets. Laura Drake stood out as a pillar of strength, her fiery determination inspiring everyone around her. She often visited the memorial wall aboard the ship, where the names of those who had fallen were engraved. Each time she went, she whispered a silent promise. "We'll honor you. Every step forward, we'll carry you with us." Dr. Emily Shaw found herself overwhelmed by requests from leaders of freed worlds. They wanted to learn about humanity's technology, its culture, and most importantly, its resilience. Emily shared what she could, emphasizing cooperation over conquest. "This isn't about domination," she told them. "It's about working together to build something better." Her words resonated deeply, planting seeds of hope for a brighter future. As news of Emperor Kalon's disappearance spread, the remnants of the Exotherian people struggled to find their place in the new order. Many blamed Kalon for their downfall, seeing his arrogance and refusal to adapt as the root causes of their collapse. Others mourned the loss of their way of life, unsure of how to move forward. Slowly, however, some began reaching out to humanity, seeking peace rather than conflict. These tentative steps toward reconciliation gave Ryan hope. Perhaps one day, humans and Titherians could coexist, not as enemies, but as allies. One evening, Ryan stepped onto the observation deck of the Eclipse. The stars stretched endlessly before him, each one a reminder of how far humanity had come. He thought about Alex Monroe, whose sacrifice had saved them all, and Vera, whose pride had blinded her to the possibility of change. He thought about the countless lives lost on both sides and the fragile peace they now held in their hands. Laura joined him after a while, leaning against the railing beside him. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. Ryan sighed, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "Now we keep going," he said. "We've shown we can fight. But fighting isn't enough. We have to show we can build too. That's the hard part." Laura nodded, understanding what he meant. Humanity wasn't perfect. It still had flaws to address and lessons to learn. But if there was one thing this journey had taught them, it was that they were capable of greatness when they worked together. Weeks later, the Eclipse set course for Earth, carrying not just survivors, but also ambassadors from several liberated planets. Their mission was simple: to begin forging a new alliance, one built on mutual respect and shared goals. As the ship entered Earth's atmosphere, Ryan watched the blue-green planet grow larger through the viewport. It felt like coming home, but also like stepping into a new chapter. For the first time in history, humanity stood among the stars, not as conquerors or victims, but as equals. And though challenges lay ahead, Ryan knew they were ready. Together, they had faced the impossible and emerged stronger. Whatever came next, they would face it side by side.